Big day today, guys. We're going to be tackling the largest shop project that we've ever done on this channel, so stick around. If you've been watching this channel, you probably know that my assembly table has been either this, or this bridge setup thingy that I got going on here. Well, that is going to be a thing of the past because we're going to build a legit assembly table. Normally with a build this big, I would like to normally just cut everything down first and then start assembling it. I do have everything designed in SketchUp, as you can see here. All the measurements are accurate, but before I start really ripping everything down, I thought to myself it would be a lot easier if I had an assembly table already. So what we're going to do is we're going to build the base first. And then we're going to raise it on horses and use that as like a makeshift assembly table. So I have these 2x4s here. We're going to cut them down at the miter saw station. And we're going to kind of just put the base together first. Once the base is done, then we're going to rip everything that we need to rip to really start the big build. I'm going to bring it over to the jointer, and I want to clean up one edge of those 2x4s because I want to cut them down from 3.5 inches to 3 inches. And I want to make sure that when I do that, they're flush up against the fence of the table saw so I get a perfectly straight cut. I want to take a moment and just explain all the features that I am going to be including in this table. For starters, I wanted to make it possible to connect it to my dust collection system in my shop, so that way I can have built-in ports into this table itself. That way I can hook up tools and such to it. Also want to have power, so that way I can hook up my power tools to it. We're also going to include an air compression system, so I can plug my air tools directly into the table. Also, it's going to have tons of storage. The design includes space for a router and a router lift. I am not going to install that right away, but at some point down the line I would like to do that. And then perhaps down the line maybe even a track system. I've never really needed it yet, but who knows what would happen in the future. So this is my makeshift assembly table, Outfeed table. I did use 2x4s. I ripped them down to 3 inches like you saw. But then I also applied a 3/4 inch piece of plywood on top of them. So you could see all the way around I have that plywood. Now the reason why I did that is because my primary concern was that once this is on casters, which is what I'm planning on doing, I was worried that it would bow in the middle over time with all the weight. So to make that a little bit harder, and hopefully that won't happen at all, with that 3/4 inch plywood on there vertically, it's going to be much harder, and I think it can handle a lot more weight before it starts to bend. So that's why I'm doing that, and hopefully it works. Having so many pieces already cut can get real confusing real fast. So in my design, everything is color coded, and each color is also set up with measurements. So we're going to use those color codes to label everything. I am not going to make you sit through the agony of watching me drill all these pocket holes. I hate pocket holes. They're really boring, but they work really well. So we're going to use them, and it's going to keep everything together. I want to explain my process before we go any further. This basically resembles a cabinet. This is more or less how you would build a cabinet. This is the first piece and the smallest piece that will be assembled to this thing. Now my plan of attack here is I'm going to basically build several of these. The others are bigger. And I'm going to mount them to this. This is the base. To put these together, you saw me already, I'm basically going to pin them first because that way it kind of keeps everything together. Then I go back and I use pocket holes to keep everything permanently mounted together. And that's basically how I'm going to do it. I almost forgot. Before we go any further, I want to drill my holes for the dust collection hose. Before we go ahead and build the other two cabinets, which are much larger than this one, those cabinets are going to have a series of drawers in there. And I want to try something that I've never actually done before. In the past, I've always installed my drawer slides after I built the cabinet. I want to install the drawer slides before I build the cabinet. The insides of these are the cabinet. The drawers are going to go right in between these. Keep the orientation correct for me, this is how I'm going to do it. So this is the bottom. Now I pre-cut 2 strips of wood here. I want my first set of drawer slides at the bottom to be 4 inches off the bottom of this panel. And so that's what this strip is for. Once I install my first set of drawer slides, I will use a 7-inch spacer right off of it to install the next drawer slide. And then I'll do one more here and we'll do the other side as well. Now keep in mind, these are both the bottom, so I'm going to install this first and then I'm going to work my way over to this cabinet here and install this one 4 inches off the bottom and continue the process. And that way they'll be exactly even. You're probably also going to notice that I have 2 different lengths of drawer slides here. The bottom drawers are going to be a little shorter, so that way it won't interfere with the dust collection hose that's going to go through here. And the rest of the drawers are going to be a little bit longer. These are 16. You could fit 18, but I don't have any 18s. I'm using only what I have laying around right now. But these are 20. So I'm going to have the top 2 drawers will be 20 inches. The bottom drawers will be 16 inches. And maybe one day we'll change them. I actually did make a mistake here, and I had to change the spacing between my drawers. That wider piece that was 7 inches, I had to cut it down to 6 inches because I forgot to take into consideration that those drawer slides themselves are almost 2 inches thick. I did an extensive amount of research on casters. There's a lot of different kinds out there. And what I was looking for was two different features. One, I wanted casters that could handle an incredible amount of weight. And the second, I wanted to be able to lock them in place. That way this table could be a stationary table if necessary. I found these on Amazon and I was really impressed. I had seen somebody, and I don't remember who it was, and if I ever do, I will link it in the description, who used these, and they looked awesome. Now, what I like about them is, first of all, they weigh like 4 pounds each. They're really beefy. These are self-leveling, so by turning this thing, this little flywheel here, you can raise it and eventually it'll make contact with the ground and you can lock your table into position. The other thing I like about this is that the 4 of these combined can handle over 2,200 pounds. So I don't think I'm ever going to have that kind of weight on this table, but if I do, I know that they can handle it. If you want to see more updated information and pictures on this build before I actually post the videos, check out my Instagram account. It's all there. The link is in the description below. I totally forgot to cut these out before. I should have done this before I assembled anything. But if you're going to do this, cut it before you assemble everything. It'll be a lot easier. The design for this assembly table calls for 2 cabinets with shelves in them. And as far as the shelves go, I want to have them so that they're adjustable because I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be putting in them. And to make them adjustable, we're going to need to drill some holes so we can put inserts like this that will hold our shelf up. I know there are some companies that make jigs so that you can make these holes perfectly and then aligned with each other. I don't have one of those, so I made my own. I'm going to be using a piece of pegboard. Now, pegboard has holes that are perfectly spaced, and they are, I believe they're 1 inch apart. And they are 1/4 inch in diameter, which is perfect for these little inserts here. They'll fit just right in there. So we're going to use this as a little stencil, and we're going to drill holes. Now, when we do that, it's important to understand something. I am going to make sure that I understand the orientation of how they're going to go once they're installed. So this is the back. This is the front. So in order to make sure that our holes are perfectly spaced and they line up when we have it installed, I'm going to take my little stencil here and I'll line it up against the edge. I'm probably going to go with this first row of holes here. And then when I finish doing those, I am going to flip it over just like this, okay? And line it up with the bottom corner again and make the same holes. They will be perfectly lined up with one another. Then I will do the same thing here. Now, remember, you have to work your way over. So I'm going to set it up against this edge here, and I'll probably use the second row of holes here. And this hole, or this hole, let's just say, will be perfectly in line with the hole I made here because we just slid it over, okay? And then we'll do the same exact thing here. We'll work our way over, flip it over, work our way over, and make our holes. Now, I'm not going to make all these holes. I'm just going to make a series of holes somewhere in the middle here, and just, that should be fine. Make sure you mark your drill bit. That way you don't go too deep and go through your material. And also keep in mind that you have to think about the thickness of the pegboard also. we are done with part 1. Part 2 is next. It's coming soon. In part 2, we're going to add the dust collection system. We're going to add electric to the table so you can plug in your power tools. We're going to add a compressed air system in here so you can plug your air tools directly to the table. We have to put a top on it. There's a lot of things still left to do. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you are new here and you haven't seen anything else I've done, check out my channel page. There's a whole bunch of other videos there for you to check out. And if you like those, please think about subscribing. Thank you again for watching, and I hope everyone is healthy and safe, and I will see you in the next one.